everyone, and welcome back to the RMTV, a women's podcast. There's no Lauren this week. We are joined by Chris, and I think it's episode 80, which is mad. I still can't believe we're still going. 80 episodes is actually a joke. But thanks for joining me today. Lauren's heavily busy with uni work, as we all are at the moment. So
just calling up the reserves.
Yeah, we've got suspense ready. Obviously, there's been no women's game recently. We're on international break at the moment. But as we do tend to talk about England on this channel quite a bit, the She Believes Cup is here.
Of course.
Halfway, 3/4 of the way through?
2/3.
2/3, there we go. So yeah, we're just going to talk about those games a little bit and sort of discuss what the feeling around England's camp at the moment is, because I know there's a lot of people, especially on social media, who aren't necessarily happy with the setup at the moment and are sort of, I wouldn't say calling, but are looking for some sort of change.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of been sparked by that USA game. So we'll sort of go into that one first. A 2-0 loss, stupid o'clock in the morning, by the way. I was not happy about that because I actually really wanted to watch that game, but I go to bed at 10:30 and no way on hell was I staying up until like 2 o'clock in the morning watching it. So I kind of got the backlash after the morning after I'd watched like the whole game on record the next day. 2-0.
I think the main frustration from the game was that it's kind of epitomised what's gone wrong since the World Cup.
Oh,
because since the defeat against the USA in the semi-final, where could have taken extra time, obviously with Steph Houghton's penalty,
Ellen White's
disallowed goal. It's just been. It feels like it's just been backward steps ever since, and I think the 2-0 defeat kind of epitomised that feeling towards the team at the moment. Because since that game, since the semi-final in Lyon, it's been 3 wins out of 10 games, and obviously a lot of defeats to go along with that as well. And the performance as a whole, look, there was a stronger squad. The World Cup. Yeah. This has been a bit of a transitional period, a bit of a transitional tournament, and a younger squad chose Phil Neville, but still it was not a competitive performance overall. There were chances in the first half, but then in the second half, USA showed their experience, their class, and they were able to dominate the game and scored 2 quick-fire goals to kill us off.
I kind of agree with you, like, when we was going into that semi-final against the USA, like England had such a nice journey up until that point, and I think I was like, you know what? I don't think the USA are that much better than us at this point. Like I genuinely had so much confidence going into that game, and then we lost it, and I was like, okay, some things didn't go our way, fair enough, but we were toe-to-toe with them for the majority of the game, and I just think they had that final factor, they had that little bit more fitness and things like that. But looking at that game the other week, they genuinely, from start to finish, outclassed us the whole of the game. And you're thinking, the World Cup wasn't that long ago. No, it wasn't. So how can a team go from being not dominant, but really good in possession, really good out of possession, to looking, they couldn't even hold the back four sometimes. They were literally on the ropes. And yet they also still chose to play out from the back, even when it doesn't work. It's just like, who makes these decisions?
I don't quite understand. If as a team you're not confident playing out of the back, I just think, whilst I do think going forward it's the way football will develop, it's the way football will go. If you can't do it, don't do it. That's my mantra. In the semi-final, I thought, to start off with, they were rabbits in the headlights. Obviously, USA get the early goal, get back into it through Ellen White, but England kind of grew into that game. You know, they recognised, almost a bit too late, they recognised that they were there on their own merit. They were there because they deserved to be there. As I say, for the game in Orlando, I didn't feel it. I didn't feel like there was a sense of belonging from the squad. That
bit of rabbits in the headlight.
Again. I didn't feel like there was a sense of the squad thinking, right, we're here, we are up against these on merit, we're up against these because we're good enough. And in the second half, it was very much a case of the USA keeping England at arm's length. Two great finishers, though. I will continue to argue that Kylie Lloyd was offside, because if you watch it, it's one of them where she's coming back from offside position and then going back on. But end of the day, two great goals, and I think that it was kind of kicking the stuffing out of England. But Alex Scott quite rightly said that you're just not in the same bracket.
No.
Just not in the same bracket. USA will have this conveyor belt. because kind of how, obviously, I think we're taking it seriously, but they're taking it seriously to another level. And I think
it's because the thing is for me, they have a new manager, yet there's been no, like we're talking about the transition period of the England team now, but it feels like there's not been a transition period. They've not lost a game since the World Cup, and they've changed manager and they've changed staff. Like, I can't remember her name, but the new fitness coach for England has left them and come to us. So they've got new staff in that sense as well, and yet they're still week after week.
When as a group of players, you know how good you are. I think there's plenty of examples of a new manager going in with a good squad and then almost trying to implement their decision. I think the USA are strong enough to say, no, this is how we know we're going to play. We're going to continue to play this way, and I think we are kind of showing that. For England and Phil Neville, I can't really put my finger on it, to be honest with you, in terms of what has been so different. Because even that, the third, fourth place playoff at the World Cup, win that, and then you finish in third 2 consecutive tournaments. You could argue because they finished fourth, it's a step back again. Even though another semi-final of the World Cup, it is progression. Although obviously finishing fourth as opposed to third isn't.
The problem I have is when I look at the team play, albeit I struggle to watch England sometimes, just dependent on what else is going on in my life at the moment. Especially, I found it so difficult to sort of watch these games with the time that I've had. But when I have watched them, I just feel like there's no identity. There's no, in my opinion, like, Phil Neville has a lot better football knowledge than I do. But from an actual players who plays the game and who loves the game of football, I just don't see the tactics. I don't see it.
Yeah.
When I look at Liverpool Men, for example, I know we use them as a prime example each time, but it's because we see them week in, week out, and we know them best. Yeah. They have a clear identity. They have players who know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly where the other player, in comparison to them, is going to be on the pitch. With England, it does not feel like that. There's no sort of fluidity throughout the team.
Even like chopping and changing, like for example, Leah Williamson on this tour, she's played right back and centre mid, but not centre back.
Yeah.
So again, just little things like that. You're kind of wondering, where is this identity? What is Phil Neville trying to get players used to new positions that they would never play for their club? I remember in the build-up to the World Cup, again, Lucy Bronze playing in midfield.
Oh, don't get me started on that. Do not. Because I will be here all day.
Sensitive subject.
It's just, why would you not play the best right-back in the world in right-back?
Yeah.
That was just like, that's the question, but he never seemed to have an answer. It was just like, she's really dynamic. Well, yeah.
He's always struck me as being quite kind of bullish in the role.
I think he quite likes to be controversial.
Yeah.
I really do.
I often say a lot of federations in various sports want a yes man at the head of their national team. I think he's the complete opposite. I don't think you can call him a yes man at all, Phil Neville. I think he is unique with his own opinions. I think he wants to enforce them a lot. It could turn out that the win against Japan was a lot more important than a 1-0 win in a She Believes Cup suggests, just to kind of get back on the right path. But I think because he is so original with his opinions and his ideas, I think we all get a little bit confused, and just in terms of trying to figure out what he's trying to do in the first place, because I don't think he always explains it in the right way, or in a clear enough way for us to kind of know what direction the team's taken, if you get me.
Yeah, and I know what you mean. I think it's just frustrating is like the biggest thing, because obviously...
That's not having a go at Phil Neville. That's just saying I'm a bit confused by this kind of system.
No, I think everyone's a little bit confused about some of the decisions that he makes and some of the things that he comes out with. Like, we'll go on to talk about it, but he said, I'll know when my time is ready to leave. And it's like, well... In the build is that you thinking about leaving? Is that you soon going to be leaving? Or is that you trying to...
In the build-up to a Euros, that's not the best preparation for
it doesn't really fill you with great confidence, I think.
No.
But it's...
Unless his communication with the players is obviously better than it is to the media, then you would imagine...
He might be throwing like a double bluff, you never really know, but I don't really want to be playing that sort of game when it comes to like an Olympics or whatever it is. But like, you kind of mentioned the Japan game, and I didn't watch this game. I've watched some of the highlights, and apparently there wasn't very many to choose from. No. Ellen White got a goal, did a nice little goal celebration. Love that celebration. Only one goal, and it kind of came from a Japan's mistake.
Yeah.
It wasn't from open play sort of thing.
Bit of a mixed bag in terms of the team as well. The youngest, it was average age of 21 the starting 11 as well. So that kind of, it kind of shows the whole tournament as a whole. Whereas when England won it, I feel whilst there had been some young players blooded in, I thought Phil Neville maybe used this tournament a bit more in terms of a friendly idea as opposed to when England won it.
That surprises me though, because England as a whole holds the Sheep Leaf Cup in good what do you call it? Height? Good. What's the word?
I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what prestige.
They put it quite high up the list to say it is a bit of a friendly, realistically, and obviously going into it as holders as well, they want to do as much as they can.
Yeah.
But I think you're right by saying when the team came out a few weeks ago now, the whole squad, there is a lot of young players in there, and I love to see that because I think that they deserve the opportunity, and that's probably the only time now until the Olympics, until the Euros, that they're going to really get the chance to shine. So I won't be surprised if you see a Lauren Hemp or a Chloe Kelly or a Sandy McIver in the team come the Euros. But it just feels a bit like, what's going on?
When I saw the squad as a whole, and one of the players you mentioned there, Sandy McIver, in terms of what I've only seen from her, she came into Everton, obviously because I do Everton games as well. She started a few games, which I was surprised by, but I think chatting to Willie Kirk, I think it's kind of the idea that Everton now, they're in that solid mid-table zone, no danger of relegation, not going to trouble the top three. So there's cup games as well, so the cup games are Everton's priority for the rest of the season, but then Sandy's kind of getting a bit more experience. I was surprised to see her in this squad, purely because, again, it got explained that it was a kind of an experience thing as opposed to the quality of the goalkeepers. I remember him saying about Mary Earps and how hard it was for her to take being left out, but again, he said...
I was surprised by that as well, actually.
It's not for her to say, oh, she's not good enough now. It's just for her to say, look, your time will come again. There's just the experience side of it. The goal, just to go back to it, it's picked up, good ball from Duggan. The two experienced heads, if you like, in the front or in the attack for England, and a good finish from Ellen White. We know what she's capable of. But just you go through the team against Japan. So Roebuck again. Very talented young goalkeeper. I personally believe coming to the Euros, I think she'll be England's number one. Yeah. I think she'll take that step to become England's number one. Daly, Houghton, Bright, Stokes, pretty established back four, even though Stokes is obviously still very young. Walsh, then Kelly, Nobbs, Stanway, Hemp across a midfield five with Beth England. And if you want to call Beth England experienced even at the age of 25, I know she's still in the very premature stages of her England career. Chloe Kelly, can't sing her praises enough from what I've seen of her this season. She has had injury problems in the past, but when you watch Everton, just her ability, she's so direct. I mean, when I spoke to her prior to the original date for the women's derby, and I said to her, "Do you feel that you are England's? Do you feel that you're Everton's kind of focal point of the attack?" And she said that she doesn't, which I think.
Probably a way to relieve pressure on herself.
Yeah, a bit of a way to relieve pressure from herself. But she is Everton's shining light.
She really is.
She has been fantastic for them this season.
I was so glad she didn't play against us at the Anfield derby because I feel like it would have been...
Again, she was suspended.
I know we lost, but I feel like it would have been
I think she's using that as... Well, she says she's using that as motivation as well for the Goodison derby in a few weeks' time, which of course she would. Of course she would. Yeah. But her and Hemp going forward, I think if you kind of make a front three out of it, I think that's very exciting going forward from an England perspective. So whilst this tournament can be seen as a bit negative, especially for the USA performance and part of the Japan performance, there is still young blood being brought through.
There are positives to take out of it. Lauren Hemp, oh my geez. Yeah, she is incredible. Yeah. The way she played against Kelly O'Hara, who's probably one of the best USA defenders that they've got. I mean, Crystal Dunn's obviously in amongst that as well. But the way she was just able to turn her, leave her, create what it seemed like 7 yards between her and the goal, and then cut in and get balls into the middle of the box. It's just like I feel like is she 20, 19?
I think so.
Or is it 18? 18, 19 or 20, in that range. But either way, she was the spark in that team, especially against the USA. I can't account for the Japan game. Well, but everyone is singing her praises.
She had a one-on-one as well, which she should have tucked away. But it was a good save from the goalkeeper. But again, she'll be a big part about England. It just makes you remember that we're not... Well, obviously we can't because she's injured, but we're not talking about Beth Mead here as well. I remember...
She would have started.
I've seen her twice this. I feel kind of responsible for this because I've seen her twice this season, and twice she's been injured in the
Okay.
obviously the game at Chester, and then I was at the Everton Arsenal game earlier this season where she got injured again. But again, she'd probably go into this team as well. I feel like we'll have to find a way to get her into this side as well. But Lauren Hemp, yeah, she'll only go from strength to strength, and that
It looks like she can play on either side as well.
And I know I said about the USA having a conveyor belt. There is a conveyor belt for England, but it's about how well it's managed.
Yeah, how it's used.
And that's one of his responsibilities, where sometimes just rein back a little bit on how kind of forefront he is with his opinions and that. But still, it's not a losing tournament as such. England have a win on the board. They're not going to get wiped out or anything like that. And Spain, I'd say, I didn't know how they'd fare against Japan, but 1-3-1, probably should have won by more. Japan are a team in a bit of a transitional stage, down to 10th in the world now.
They didn't have a great World Cup, did they?
No, a long way from when they won
best,
it back in 2011. But it's how would you kind of assess it? Just because it does feel like a step back, as it has just been since the World Cup. But again, you still think there's things, as we've mentioned there, for things to build on.
There's definitely positives to take out of it. I think it's kind of hard to see the positives when you sort of look at the performances and you're like, well, it's kind of not the standard that England set themselves.
How bland they've kind of been.
Like, especially how much of a spectacle the World Cup was in itself. Like, you were hoping they'd come off that defeat. Yes, okay, they had a bit of a World Cup hangover, but that's well and truly should have been over by now.
Yeah, there's no excuses for that.
You can't keep blaming it on the fact that they've been affected by this. At the end of the day, they're professional athletes. They do get knocked down, but it's how well they get up again. And I just feel like England just haven't really got up onto their 2 feet yet.
Well, I think Leanne Sanderson I think she took the right attitude, because she showed no real sympathy towards it. To be honest,
it was brilliant. She just said it how it was.
Yeah, it was quite refreshing to see her on TV. Just the whole of the last
week.
She
basically just said it's not good enough, and we were all like, "Oh yeah, it's not."
Yeah, I can't stand it when some of the media say kind of maybe dodge around.
They try and protect their own back sometimes, don't
but
they? Yeah.
sometimes, like again, Roy Keane, for example, he's just fantastic. He just says how it is, and Leanne Sanderson, she was just great. Just said how it was the other day, and going forward. Well, the Olympics, hopefully they'll happen in the first place. That's a topic for something
Another
else.
day.
Just
fingers crossed.
Yeah.
I think momentum just need a bit.
Yeah.
They just need to get the ball rolling, and obviously like Spain's tonight, 9:15 kick-off. It will be on BBC. Couldn't tell you exactly what channel, but I know it's definitely on BBC. Did you see that channel changing that happened in Japan? Started on one BBC channel, then went to the other after the first half, and it was like, what? Anyways, that's for another discussion as well.
Yeah.
But there's a lot coming up that this England team needs to be ready for, and I'm pretty sure that squad that went to the She Believes will inevitably change when it comes to the Euros, when it comes to the Olympics. Obviously, the Scotland players come in well.
Well, again, Lucy Bronze as well. Obviously, it's her first squad in about a million years that she's missed. Yeah. So even just players just like that coming back in, and
it's just you've got to stay positive in the sense, and then hopefully Phil's got a clear voice going on.
He's got a master plan.
Yeah, he's
just toying with us.
He is. He's just having a laugh, isn't he? On like the topic of international teams, something that came out during this week is the US women's soccer team, the USA's FA equivalent, I believe. Has
the United States Soccer Federation.
There you go. They have allowed equal pay for the women's team games that they play, but I believe it is only games that are under the federation's control, so within the US, the country of the US. Yeah. What are you thinking about it? Do you think this will sort of be like a domino effect for other teams, other federations of different countries to sort of jump on the same thing?
I think it's another step forward. Yeah. Certainly do. I've always said that I think the first thing that should be focused on is regards to internationals in terms of bonuses, things like that. I've mentioned it before, but I'll refer back to USA obviously winning it and then getting something quite a paltry amount compared to the USA men's team reaching the last 16 in 2014 against Belgium. I think that the internationals are where we should kind of base this argument off, first of all. There is still a sizable gap with regards to prize money as well. I think, well, as it says here, the FIFA awarded $400 million in terms of prize money for the Men's World Cup, as opposed to around 30 for the Women's, but Gianni Infantino has suggested doubling that at least for the next World Cup, which again, that would be a step. I think a lot of federations are looking towards Australia as a kind of trailblazer for it, obviously with them doing equal pay for Socceroos and Matilda's games, which again, that's a huge step forward. Interesting that it hasn't been received overly well, this offer, I think, by some of the members of the women's squad.
I think they just hold themselves higher.
Yeah.
And which is fair play to them. They've won 4 World Cups by now. It should have probably happened a long time ago. But as we sort of know, within this country especially, it is such a slow process and it happens over a majority of time. And I think they're well in their rights to be annoyed about the situation. But on the other hand, they should probably benefit from the fact that the ball's now rolling.
Yeah.
They've got what they initially set out to get.
Yeah.
And although they do deserve more, don't get me wrong, they deserve so much more than what they're already getting. I think with time, that'll come. And you'll go into, but some of them are not happy with even just getting equal pay, which just shows how much the women's game's come on and how highly they regard themselves. And I think confidence in women's football is a massive, massive thing. Well,
I think you've alluded to it there, where the ball is now rolling, so don't stop the ball in its tracks.
Yeah.
I'm trying to use the right word here, but not ignorant as such. But now the ball is rolling and these offers are coming, don't kind of shut down that road. Obviously, negotiate them, but don't say no, kind of thing. Use them as further leverage. I think that's important because if the more prize money comes in for the World Cup, as it should, it's getting more recognition. There'll be more revenue, and that's where this more money will come into it through that. If you want to compare it to some things over here with the say with the Women's Super League, obviously prize money for the first time this season, £100,000. Again, that in terms of the world of women's football is a step forward with regards to finances as well. But I completely get where you're coming from, and there is a deal for the men it ended at the 2018 as well, so there is some negotiation going on for that as well. But I think it's interesting that the US Soccer Federation, I mentioned to you earlier, they've actually pointed out some things that the women's team get that the men's team don't.
Oh, wow.
There are some things such as, like, obviously pregnancy, which men's team can't cover for that. But stuff like guaranteed annual salaries, medical, dental insurance, childcare assistance as well. That's what the women's team get covered as opposed to the men's team. They don't get covered, that kind of thing. So the US Soccer Federation not using it saying you get this, they don't, but that's just something that they're pointing out in terms of if you're looking for equality.
Yeah.
So there is still plenty of negotiating to do, but I believe that this is something that should be seen as a positive.
Yeah.
Even I know the USA saying it's only under our control, but nevertheless, it wasn't even at that stage before.
Yeah.
So
it's a step in the right direction, and I personally hope that other teams sort of follow, because at the end of the day, they're playing the same game. Why are they not getting the same amount of money? Especially internationally, I think it's different domestically.
For the same federation.
I think it's different domestically. Like, no way on earth are Liverpool women going to be paid the same as Liverpool men, just purely because they don't generate the same amount of money. And I think if you're making it absolute to the team and what they sort of generate, I think something came out last week that Liverpool women lost 316k through the 28-19 season, which is quite a big loss to say how much they actually bring in to begin with. But when you're sort of looking at internationally, I think it's a much easier task to create equal pay than when you're looking at domestically within the same club, for sure. So I think it'd be nice if England women did it, but I think USA are just so much higher up in what they've won, how they go about their own business and things like that, that I can see it happening with other federations, but I don't see it happening yet.
Yeah, no, I with regards to the FA over here, I think one of my main things, certainly obviously how they got transported out to the She Believes. That doesn't sit easy with me in terms of their travel. They should have been, for me, like a first class kind of travel.
Did they just go in a normal plane?
Yeah, basically.
How dare they?
That for me, again, the men's team would get that sort of quality, wouldn't they? And that for me, when you're under the same federation, travel is the bare minimum that you should get in terms of the same quality.
It's not like the FA can't afford it.
No, exactly. So that for me, again, that's even a step that should be very high on the FA's agenda in terms of travelling to and from games. But certainly, this for the USA could be
huge.
A good set a good standard for around the globe.
Yeah, 100%. Well, before we get on to anything else, I just wanted to quickly mention that it was International Women's Day on the Sunday just gone, and me and Lauren had a fabulous day.
So you had a great time in Anfield.
It was amazing. So like we started off in Hotel T. I don't know if you've been. It's the hotel that's near Anfield, and it was the sort of launch of this new initiative that's Live Girls International, and it's basically what its aim is to create like a safe environment for Liverpool female football fans, whether that's the men's team or the women's team, to go meet new people, converse about the games, because a lot of women feel like they don't fit in necessarily. Like, I've never personally had this problem because I've always been surrounded by like my family who, my dad and my brother obviously, who were boys. The people that I go to, like, I'm in this office now and there's 3 other boys in here. Like, I've never personally felt that, but some in other countries, some girls in other countries, for example, don't have anyone to talk to the football about. They don't have mates that are football fans that are female. So this initiative has been created to allow all these people from different countries to meet in Liverpool, which is what happened. So many people. There's a woman from Jamaica there, like a group of women that have done this for 6 years now, travelling from Norway to Anfield, doing all the tours and things. And this is like the first time these people have come across and seen the stadium. Like, we're quite, us sat here now, are quite lucky. Like, I could probably walk 10 minutes and I'm at Anfield's doorstep, and it's like, wow, I'm quite lucky, and some people never get to experience that. So that initiative sort of gets people over, gets them interacting, and just the amount of stories you hear from different people that don't live in the UK who talk about football, who talk about the club and things like that. It was just incredible.
Well, I remember there was an article a month or 2 ago where it was saying about football talk in the workplace could be could be cut. Do you know what I'm talking about? Could be cut down to accommodate more women in terms of workplace chat. Where I work, so I chat to loads of women about football because everyone loves it.
Literally,
so I remember saying to them as well that were working with me, and I said, so basically we're not allowed to talk about our job anymore. Like, it just blew my mind, really, that, because then for me, I see like you and Lauren, like, you're kind of setting the standard really for young women in the future to talk about Liverpool, both the men's and women's team, like 80 episodes, awards to show for it. You're setting a standard. So why
would you not talk to football about with us? Do you know what I mean? That was a weird article in itself.
All they need to do is look at what you guys are doing, and whoever was going to write that article probably should have deleted it and started something else.
Exactly.
But fantastic initiative.
It really was, and like, we all walked across with each other to Anfield, then like went into the executive lounge. Oh my God, how the other half live. Ridiculous.
Our main stand is Centenary, is that main stand?
Yeah. And so we went in. There's like a European Cup replica that everyone was getting a photo with, lifting it up in the air, like. But like, I pointed this out. I can't remember who I was talking to, but I pointed this out to someone, and I was just saying, like, women were in a room chanting "LA, LA, LA." I have never ever been in that position before. Like, it's usually it's men that chant that song, and it's not saying women can't do that, but it was just women. The tone was so much better. Like, it sounded so much better. But it's just like, I'm stood here with a load of Liverpool, female Liverpool fans, and we're all just chanting, singing along, like, having a great time. And then it just, like, that set the standard throughout the whole night. Like, there was a lot of
would you have stopped unless you weren't, as in, would you have just carried on if you weren't told to stop?
Oh yeah. It was brilliant. So much passion in the room. It was incredible. And then loads of different guest speakers. So Peter Moore came in, did a really nice presentation about basically how much Liverpool women, like female fans, are valued, and how much they should feel a part of this whole one club mentality. Obviously, Vicky Jepson was there as well. Interestingly, we have got this on video, so there is reasoning behind this.
Evidence.
She has said that there is an announcement coming out in the next few weeks. Don't know what it's about, but there's something that's going to be out in the next few weeks. So stay tuned to us, because I'm sure we'll break it when we know what it is. So I'm interested to know what that is. Obviously, in the situation we're in at the moment, I don't really know what it could be, whether it's a new restructure, whether it's something to do with the training facilities. I literally have not a clue. But she's said that, and then she looked at Peter Moore while saying it, so I was like, so that was really cool. And then Phil Thompson had shared some stories. I'm not jealous, not at all. But no, that looked class. About
absolutely class.
Shankly and everything like that. Yeah. Oh, incredible.
But interesting that you say about that, obviously, with the Everton announcement in last week as well.
Yeah.
Last week or so as well, with them saying that they are eager to help the women's team compete for trophies. Again, Willie Kirk has made it obvious this season that Everton's aim is to get to Wembley in the FA Cup. Huge game against Chelsea, huge task against Chelsea in the quarter-final, but that is something that they're aiming for. And Denise Barrett-Baxendale, she said as well that there will be that closer connection. They've been at Finch Farm all season. I've spoken to Nessa Cargman, Gabby George, Chloe Kelly, as I said earlier. They've all said that being at Finch Farm has improved them massively, just for kind of even walking around the men's team and just connecting with them. Carlo Ancelotti's watched some of their training sessions as well.
You've spoken to them a few times.
I can't imagine, like, for the girls, for Liverpool girls, for Klopp to oversee some of their training sessions would mean so much.
It would. It's nothing as well. It's an hour, if that, out of the day. I think that's a massive thing that I kind of hold my hands up and be like, wow, Everton, you actually smashed that. They have really looked after their women's team, invested in the women's team, and that whole new. Well,
you've seen the progression of the last year.
Oh yeah, so they almost got relegated, and now look at them. They're not flying, but they're.
Well, 12 points last season overall, and they've already smashed. Well, they smashed through that a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I have seen firsthand the evolution of it, and it is remarkable. So if there's some sort of focus from Liverpool to say, right, we're going to knuckle down now. A, make sure there's no relegation. B, then push the team forward after that.
Yeah.
Really be for the positive. But be very interesting to hear what that announcement is.
I sort of feel like, obviously we go back to 2013-14 when Liverpool Women won the league back-to-back. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily feel like, this is going to sound really weird, and trust me on it, just give me a second to explain it. I don't think they've gone backwards. I just think everyone else has caught up to them, and they've just now, fair enough, we lost about a gazillion and one players, which Vicky actually spoke about in that interview. She's like, we lost 11 great players. And I was like, come on, girl. But I just think the standard now is raised so much. Liverpool have kind of just fallen behind.
Yeah.
And they've not really realised it until now. We're sitting bottom of the table, potentially getting relegated. I don't think they've realised that how good the other teams have actually got, and taken into consideration how much other teams have started to invest into it. And they've only now just figured out, and it's sort of slightly too late for this season especially, and probably for last season as well.
Even when you look at Manchester United creating a women's team last year and getting promoted the first time of asking, and then doing so well this season.
Proving their worth, really.
Yeah, they're proving their worth. But again, they're a team that in space of no time, you could argue have overtaken Liverpool. And Casey Stoney has said that she thinks Liverpool are, well, it would be disastrous for the Women's Super League for Liverpool to get relegated. So I think the club as a whole need to take notice of that. And again,
equally, they need to do something about it.
Yeah. And the only way they can do that is investment. Let's money talks. It's a bit of a.
It's a shame it's got to that point, but how else do you expect the game to grow?
Yeah, it's a cynical way, but at the end of the day, now, sport. I think we've all just got to accept sport. It's a shortish career.
Yeah.
Compared to a lot of other industries, so it is about making money while you can, and the only way you can do that is through investment. So, as I say, it'll be interesting in the next few weeks to hear what is being said.
I could not tell you what it is. I really want to know what it is.
I reckon you just.
I genuinely haven't got a Scooby, and I can't lie. So you just made it look like I know what it is, but I genuinely have no idea.
I'm not the one panicking. See that sweat? I'm not the one panicking.
Anyways, that kind of moves in well into wrapping it up in terms of we are in the international break. When we get back, I'm not going to lie to you, it's not looking great in terms of fixture-wise.
Yeah.
Man City as soon as we get back. Everton at Goodison Park midweek. Reading, Spurs, Brighton, Chelsea, and we tried to think about this before. We're not too sure when the Man United game and then Birmingham as well is rearranged. So we have 8 fixtures. Some are good, some are beatable, doable. We can get that. Some, I think, are going to be difficult, and we're going to need to start picking out the 1-pointers and then the 3 points and realise how we're going to sort of make this work.
It's 8 cup finals, really.
It really is, which is horrible.
It's quite literally 8 cup finals. And going into the West Ham game, I really thought that was a good chance, because that first half against Arsenal was the best I've seen from Liverpool this season. It really, really was. I thought they were superb in that first half against Arsenal. I think they shouldn't have even gone into the break level. They should have gone into it arguably 2-0 up. It was 2 really poor goals to concede. It made me laugh just because Liverpool had to work so hard for their goals, through Babajide and Furness, but then they give away 2 really sloppy ones as well. In the second half, I just felt it was just kind of running at steam, really. And going into the West,
just out of it.
Yeah.
They were absolutely knackered by that West Ham game. I was going to say game, but said aim.
Going into the West Ham game, I genuinely thought that was a chance to get that win, get another good win on the board. I didn't see going 4-0 down. I didn't see that, and then Furness made it look respectable, if you like, getting 2 goals back late on. But I didn't see going 4-0 behind in the first place. And
that's a big scoreline. We had one of the best defences in the league until that game came about.
That is a step back. That really is a step back. But she's been a massive positive. Rachel Furness scored for Northern Ireland as well.
It's the aggression, and you can just see it when she scores a goal in her face. Like, she's just up for anything. And I've said this so many times. I'll be honest. When we first signed her in January, I was like, "Why have you signed her? That's the least of our worries, a midfield player." But now I'm like, I couldn't have wished for it any better.
She's a player that, if Liverpool are to stay up, she needs to be on top of her game. And I don't know how many free hits you could say there are. I know you say about Man City but then
I don't think any of them are a free hit
exactly.
Anymore.
And
we're in a relegation battle here. There's about 4 teams that are still in it, and also if it comes to it, we have Chelsea on the last game of the season away from home, and if it all comes down to that game, that's just
that could be
not going to go.
That could be for them the title decider.
Exactly. So you'll want to be wrapping up this relegation at least 3 games in. You want to be as well away as possible as you can.
Yeah. There are the huge ones, even like you say Everton at Goodison Park. Great atmosphere, great opportunity, chance for revenge.
The United one at home as well is going to be massive, because I genuinely feel if we'd have played them when we did, we might have won that game.
The United game,
because they just came off the back of losing.
Their season now is at a funny stage because they're not in the FA Cup, and they can't challenge the top 3. So their season's at a very funny stage, to be honest with you. But I saw them against Everton before the international break, and they were superb. They really, really were. They really were very good.
That's not what we wanted.
Minus Lauren James, I have to say.
Good.
Yeah. But the Birmingham game, the Brighton game, they're the games where if you want to gamble and say other teams aren't going to pick up too many more points, they're the 2 ones you have to say are wins. But 8 cup finals.
Indeed, it's just horrible to even think about, to be honest with you. But we stay believing until the end, isn't it?
Of course. We
always do. And like, just going back to when Vicky was speaking, she spoke so much about like, come on, get behind them sort of things. Like, we're sat in a room of female Liverpool fans, and we're almost trying to have to tell them as well, come on, like get to the women's games, because not a lot of them actually knew about the women's team, which I was quite surprised about, because as a woman myself, a woman,
yes, you are a woman,
a girl. I just follow both because I am a girl who plays football and I enjoy men's football at the same time. So I kind of look at them both, and it kind of made me realise, okay, maybe not everyone sort of thinks the way I do. But I think that there is pressure now on Vicky especially. Yeah. Like, and the players to a certain extent. Like, some of the performances have not been good enough. But now they've had a break. They're 100% refreshed. Maybe some of the ones that have been on international break will have a bit more game time in them. But there's absolutely no reason now why they can't just push on and do as much as they physically can to sort of keep them, because it would be absolute
grave
shame to the league if Liverpool got relegated.
When you've got the respect, you've got the respective other managers, Kirk and Stoney, they've actively said this Liverpool squad's better. Yeah, that the squad's better than bottom, and I think it'd be a very blasé attitude. Obviously, don't want relegation, but we've seen in the Continental Cup in Liverpool's group this season that there is quality in the Championship as well. So it'd be a very blasé attitude to say go back down to get better and come back up, because as I say that there is quality in the second division. Yeah. So get together. I think there's enough confidence in there as well. Yeah. I wouldn't say it's a team lacking in confidence. Just it's the old adage of putting the ball in the back of the net.
Exactly, that's what we need to do. But that's about it today. Thank you so much for joining me.
Pleasure as always. Me
and Lauren, maybe we'll be back next week together. Who actually knows at this point? We never know until the day before. Yeah. But yeah, we've had a good chat there. Let us know your thoughts about anything that we've discussed today, and the England stuff. That's quite interesting. I'd quite like to know what other people think about that, because obviously we've sort of said what we need to say, and if anyone disagrees, let us know. It'd be nice to have a little bit of discussion. Oh, God. Anyway, thanks for listening. If you were listening, thanks for watching. If you were watching, and we will be back soon. Oh, wait, no. I always forget this. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. There we go. And we'll be back soon with another video.